How will HBO divide the Philosopher's Stone book up into just 8 episodes? And what may they do differently in the series that they didn't do in the films? And what about the acquisition of Warner Brothers? How will that impact the release structure? Keep watching to discover all of this and more. Welcome, wizards, witches, muggles, and squibs, back to SpellBuzz. I'm your host, Francesca Williams, and in this video, we're going to be talking all about HBO Season 1 of the Harry Potter series, The Philosopher's Stone. So let's start off strong with how we know that there's going to be 8 episodes, because at the beginning, we didn't. At first, we just knew that they were going to have 8 hours to tell the story of the Philosopher's Stone, and this was confirmed by Francesca Gardner, who is one of the showrunners, and Mark Mylord, who is one of the directors. Essentially, they just said they had 8 hours to really delve into the story, and I think delve into all the nooks and crannies of the plot and the characters, and also to basically explore how language builds the wizarding world. At first, there was some debate about whether there would be 10 episodes per season or only 8. This is because there was just a lot of rumors at the start, because as you can imagine, it is a really big anticipated series, but also because we know from other HBO series that they usually give about 1 hour per episode, so there should be about 8. And this indeed was correct when it was then confirmed once again by both Gardner and Mylord in an interview.
To tell a story in 8 episodes rather than a single 2-hour movie, to go down all the wonderful rabbit holes.
8 hours is significantly more time than a 2-hour and 32-minute runtime of the Philosopher's Stone film. This means they should be able to incorporate a lot more. And I'm thinking a lot more character development and a lot of hidden scenes that we haven't seen before. For me personally, I am really excited for the character development, and I feel there's a lot of points in the books that weren't explored in the movies enough, specifically surrounding Neville and the fact that he was there a lot for the Golden Trio. The first book really proves why Neville was put in Gryffindor, but I don't think the first film does. Now, if you're interested in a book to film comparison, I have actually already done this on the channel, so go and check this out. It's for the Philosopher's Stone, and it goes into basically all the differences in the films versus the books, and it should hopefully give you an idea of what they may do differently in the series as to what they did in the films. I also hope that we get some development around Ginny, obviously not really in the Philosopher's Stone, as she's not yet at Hogwarts, but I feel like there was a lot of missed opportunity with her, as in the films they really focused on making Hermione the big female lead, when actually her film personality and her book personality are very different, I think. And I also think Ron needs a bit more hero time, because in the books there's a lot of moments where he is a hero, but in the films these were given to Hermione a lot of the time. It kind of diminished his character a little bit and kind of made him seem a little bit stupid, I felt. Now, just a point on the 8-hour structure. I personally think it justifies the need for the series a little bit more. I think a lot of people are quite opposed to the HBO series, as they feel the films captured the essence perfectly, as do I, to be honest. But I think knowing that they're going to give it this full time of day really means that we can fully be immersed in the stories once again and get to see those moments that weren't televised before fully be televised. And something else that's interesting about this 8-hour structure is the fact that the books gradually increase in length throughout the series. Now, I wonder if they will increase the 8-hour structure throughout the series as well, as obviously we know The Order of the Phoenix is the longest book out of all of them. I feel like with the movies, this just wasn't possible. Obviously, they had to split Deathly Hallows into 2 parts, but they were working with a very cinema-based audience. Basically, the films that they were making were going out to the cinemas just because that was the time that they were being released and that was what was done. Now, with the series, especially as it's being released in an internal platform, I think they have a bit more flexibility, and they should be able to, really, without much issue, increase the amount of time that they give to each book when it is needed. So that's something else to note that I find really interesting. But what do you think about that? And do you think they will give each book the time that it needs? Let's move on to how we think they're going to break the book down into 8 episodes. Now, let me just start this by saying, in the films, we didn't really get to see the extent of Harry Potter's suffering that was explained in the books during his time living with the Dursleys. So I really think episode 1 is going to be delving into Harry's backstory, including the fact that growing up, Dudley was always treated different to Harry, and hopefully we get some scenes of them as children, like I've already mentioned. And I think that this episode is going to run right up until Hagrid bursts through the door on the island and tells Harry that he's a wizard. And then moving on to number 2. In episode 2, I think is going to run from this conversation with Hagrid right up until the boats at Hogwarts, the boats arriving at Hogwarts. I think it's really going to encompass his time at Diagon Alley, basically Harry coming to terms with the fact that he is a wizard, obviously him meeting Ron and Hermione as well. But I think they're going to give some weight to the conversation about who Voldemort is, because in the films it was obviously quite a short conversation, but I think they have the opportunity to make it a really significant moment in the series as well. Now, something you may not know is Harry actually had to go back to live with the Dursleys after going to Diagon Alley, and this is not shown in the films, and I think they will definitely put this in the books, as they have already said they're going to be book accurate. I think it would be a lovely moment, a nice moment for us to see, when the Dursleys drop Harry off at King's Cross Station and then speed away before Harry has even found his platform. Without further ado, let's move on to number 3. Now, I think number 3 is going to basically be introducing Harry to Hogwarts, his first few weeks at Hogwarts and what he gets up to, and I think it's definitely going to include the Midnight Duel, which is a chapter in the book which touches on Draco's rivalry with Harry, but it's also the first time the Golden Trio would see Fluffy, and in fact Neville is actually with them, so I think it'd be a lovely moment to include Neville in as well, to really get his character development going. And I think this episode is going to end right when McGonagall sees Harry on the broomstick, so it's going to end as first flying lesson and when McGonagall spots him, as I think this is a really good moment for a little bit of anticipation, as if it's a younger audience member who doesn't know the plot of Harry Potter, they would then be on the cliffhanger that Harry may get kicked out of Hogwarts, which is obviously a lovely point to end for someone who hasn't seen it before. Now, moving on to episode 4. I think this is going to be mainly focused on the atmosphere of Hogwarts, the lessons, Harry's time there, how much he loves it. But then I think it's going to end on Halloween with the Troll. Now, I think episode 4 has a lot of opportunity for Peeves as well if we're building the Hogwarts universe also. The reason I think it's going to end with the Troll duel / face-off with Harry, Ron and Hermione is because we know that when series come out, they like the middle of the series, so in this case it's episode 4, to be a really big, highly anticipated, high energy, high tensions moment. This is also a turning point in the book as well, because it's after this point that the Golden Trio really become strong friends and then realize that they're trying to basically defeat Voldemort. But in this case, they thought it was Snape for a little bit, right? But then obviously they're working together to defeat evil, basically. So I think that's where they're going to end episode 4. And then episode 5 has got to include Harry's Quidditch match, sorry. It has also probably going to include the Christmas period where Harry gets his invisibility cloak, and also it should have some lovely reflection with Harry at the Mirror of Erised, and hopefully it actually delves into Harry's grief a little bit. And I think this is where we first see Dumbledore really make a connection with Harry, so I think it's really important for them to spend time on this moment, and also obviously Ron's reflection in the mirror as well, and it's really the character development in the later half of this episode. In episode number 6, I think this is going to be the plot with Norbert. And this is Hagrid's dragon that he traded and basically brought into Hogwarts. What Hagrid did was completely illegal and it caused a lot of problems for the Golden Trio. And I think this needs to be one episode on its own. And then obviously I think also their detention in the Forbidden Forest will be the end of this episode, where Harry first comes to terms with Voldemort, sees him drinking from the unicorn and meets Firenze. The fear there basically, or Voldemort's closer than he thinks. And then number 7 should be the trials. I think they should have a whole episode for the trials of Harry, Ron and Hermione trying to get into the Philosopher's Stone vault. Now, in the movies, they missed out Snape's potion riddle, and this was Hermione's time to shine. And in case you don't know, actually in some of the other challenges, Hermione's moments that were hero moments were actually taken from Ron or Harry, and it was really heavy focused on Hermione, when actually in the books it's a bit more balanced about who has their hero moments. So I think a whole episode focused on this will really give every member an opportunity to have their hero character development moments, and it should be basically a really lovely episode to watch. It's really exciting, but also we get to fully see the golden trio come into their own. And then number 8 has obviously got to be Harry's face-off with Voldemort/Professor Quirrell. And I think this will take up most of the episode, but then I think the end half of the episode, or end 20 minutes, will be more to do with Harry's time in the hospital wing, because in the books there's also moments where Hagrid goes to visit him and feels extremely guilty about even telling him about Fluffy or the Philosopher's Stone, and it's actually a really lovely moment to see Hagrid like that as well, because in the films he's portrayed as kind of very irresponsible, which he still is in the books, but it's nice to see him take on some of that responsibility at the end of the Philosopher's Stone. And then I also think it's going to be Harry leaving Hogwarts, but unlike the films, I think it's actually going to end after Harry reunites with Vernon and Petunia, much to his dismay, and also the fact that Vernon and Petunia see the Weasley family and are not best pleased about them. Now let's move on to an important question that you may have not considered, and this is, how will the acquisition of Warner Brothers impact the series release? For season 1, it probably won't change anything. But beyond that point, it could have quite a big impact. And this is because one of the deciding factors as to episode structure is the platform that a series is released on. Basically, how will the episodes be released to the public? Will there be a one-a-week structure like I just described, which is the classic series structure? Or will they be released in blocks at a time, or maybe in one go? All the episodes of the season released at once, essentially. And this obviously changes audience behavior, but it also changes episode structure, because if you release the episodes in a block, you want to put the cliffhanger at the end of the block rather than in between the end of each episode. We can say that it seemed certain that Netflix was going to acquire Warner Brothers, and in fact in December they started with their antitrust processes to begin the process of acquisition. But since March, Paramount has been the name hanging over Warner Brothers. If Netflix does in fact acquire Warner Brothers, then it changes things for the HBO series quite a lot. And this is because they tend to release their series in blocks at a time. And we can see this with Stranger Things. They released theirs in 3 episodes at a time, roughly. Now, I don't know if you know, but Duffer Brothers actually didn't want to do this, and it made them have to completely rethink the structure of the episodes, as they had to make sure, obviously, the cliffhangers were at the end of each block. The thing is as well, with Stranger Things, it made audiences have binge-watching behavior and just sit down and want to watch all the episodes from that block in one go as to not get spoilers. With Harry Potter, this is not exactly the same, because everyone knows the story of Harry Potter, really. Apart from maybe younger children, and they wouldn't have access to social media really to have those spoilers anyway. So I don't think that would be a problem. Now that does question how they will keep the hype in between each episode being released, but I think it would just come from the way they create the Wizarding world. If Paramount is to acquire Warner Brothers, then it won't change anything for us, as Paramount tend to release their episodes once a week. And this means that it would take 8 weeks for season 1 or season 2 or 3, whichever one it is, to be released, which is basically 2 months. And this is the same structure as HBO, as HBO was a TV channel first, and this goes back to the days where you didn't have streaming platforms and basically the episodes were just released on the TV channel once a week. If you are interested in the release of the HBO series, I actually did a video on that, so go and check that out. It also talks about when there may be trailers and what HBO may do to try and hook people into watching the Harry Potter series. That's the end of the video from me, but I do have 2 questions for you. The first one is, what characters are you excited to see the full development of? And who do you think were kind of not given their moment in the films? And the second one is, what do you think HBO may do to try and keep the hype for the Harry Potter series, considering that a lot of people already know the plot? So how are they going to do that in between each episode? Like always, please like and subscribe, as this helps the channel to grow, helps you keep updates, and helps me to bring videos out to you. And if you have any more curiosities about the HBO series, put them in the comments down below and I'll get a video out for you. Bye bye now.